Unfortunately, following the fall of Kabul and the decision of the government that preceded ours to start negotiating with these very same terrorist groups without preconditions such as, disarming, de-radicalization, respect for the Constitution, what we call it a policy of appeasement that has blown up in our face.
Literally.
So on the one side, we have the consequences of the withdrawal from Afghanistan that has given various groups over there a lot more space to function. We have a very porous border that the new government doesn't have the capacity to man extensively. And we have reinvigorated sort of groups within our country. The good news is that the new unity government is clear. The new military leadership is clear. We've had national security meetings in our country, and we've put a full stop to the policy of appeasement. We're confident that we'll be able to take on the terrorist groups that are functioning within Pakistan. However, I do believe we will be in a high-risk security phase until the question of the security threat or the terrorist threats emanating out of Afghanistan are addressed.
And I'm speaking of Afghanistan in particular. Do you believe the American policy and the withdrawal were a mistake?
Look, it's sort of crying over spilt milk. It's something that's happened. We have to deal with the reality now, right? And the reality is there's the interim government of Afghanistan, the Taliban Afghanistan are now in charge. And we need to see the will to take on terrorist elements, and they too are under threat, Daesh and ISIS-K. And then going forward, they need to be able to build their capacity to be able to take on these groups.
What, in your mind, should America's role be today when it comes to what's happened in Afghanistan, and honestly, in terms of that spillover into Pakistan?
So I don't think it's just about America's role. There is a role for the international community in the sense that we need to get our act together. We need to be able to build some form of consensus, some sort of coordination on the topic, on this topic. But the primary role...
I mean, can you talk to these people? Are these people the Taliban who are now controlling Afghanistan? Can you have a conversation with people who do this to women, for example?
No. So there has to be a distinction. The terrorist groups I am referring to are such like the BLA, the TTP, the ETIM, Al-Qaeda, and the like. I wasn't referring to the TTA, which, no matter their history, are now the interim government in charge of Afghanistan. So rather than the Americans having to come back in, or us or anybody else having to go over, the most realistic, practical, and perhaps optimistic scenario is that the interim government in charge right now live up to their commitment that they made before taking over to their own people and to the international community to ensure their soil was not used for terrorism. And if they demonstrate the will and build the capacity to be able to take them on and deal with this threat, then I think that solves quite a lot of the problem for the region and for the international community. I don't think anybody has the appetite or the desire to see a re-entry of international forces, of any other forces, in our neighborhood anytime soon.
What kind of pressure can you exert on them?
I don't think that they respond to threats or pressure well. I think that's what we've seen over the past year. I think engagement is important, but there has to be an environment conducive to have that engagement. And our message to the interim government in Afghanistan has been to sort of help us help them. And steps such as the ending of right to women's education surely isn't helping them and isn't helping us help them.